All right, everyone. Now it's time to give my predictive analysis with regards to the election after the debate. I still believe that Donald Trump is going to win the election. If anything, I think that he's going to end up pulling ahead. And this is based on several metrics. Number one, he didn't do spectacularly well at the debate with Kamala Harris. He did well at the one with Biden, but that's mainly because Biden just melted down. I mean, sometimes he didn't know where he was. With Kamala, it was more of a break even. Some people are calling me out too, like some of the supermogger people are like, well, Sticks, you must have watched a different debate. He crushed her. He did not crush her. He did a good job. He didn't do badly. In his opening statements, that was good. In the closing statements, that was actually great. And there were a couple of times during the debate where he shined. But there were also times when he let Kamala skate when he could have just pounded her down into the earth. There were times when she refused to answer basic questions and he should have called her out, etc., etc. I've already explained this. But I still favor him to win the election fairly handily. Here are several reasons why. Number one, you've had defortification in a number of states that were fortified before. Pennsylvania comes to mind, Georgia comes to mind, I believe Arizona to an extent, although you have to keep an eye on Maricopa County because, as Razorfist would put it, there's some oddities there. They're a little bit sus sometimes. Nevada has defortified, and so that's pretty much gets you the election potentially. That's number one. Number two, simply look at the polling. Again, this is a no black pill zone. When we look at polling, he is polling 3 or 4 points ahead of where he was virtually everywhere in 2016. Don't forget that. Kamala Harris would need a pretty big win to even get where Hillary Clinton was in the 2016 election. Who won the 2016 election? Oh, it was Donald Trump. He's also simply more well-spoken. He's going to rallies with 15,000 people. She's struggling to get 2,000 or 3,000 at the average rally. The only advantage that she really has is massive surges in fundraising. That's perfectly fine. You can buy more ads on TV. But the people that are still watching TV generally are going to lean liberal anyway, because they're outdated. So it doesn't really, I don't think it has a great big impact. I think that some meme online or a mean tweet is more likely to sway voters than anything that Kamala Harris can put up on a billboard. Then you have the Swiftie bullshit. Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. And there's a news article actually up, and it's hilarious to me. Talking about how, something like, I think it was 380,000 people were driven to a government voting website after Taylor Swift endorsed. How many of those people are even old enough to vote? Probably 10 of them. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Celebrity endorsements, if they mattered, Hillary Clinton would have won in a landslide. You remember that supercut of all the celebrities saying, democracy is too important, Donald Trump is evil, Hillary Clinton is the face of the future, and all of that bullshit. I wouldn't worry about that either. I think that Trump will win. I have a feeling that he will be reelected. Also, remember, the most amusing outcome is the most likely. It would be highly amusing for somebody who is technically a convicted felon to win a second non-consecutive term the only other time in presidential history other than Grover Cleveland, and that was 100 years ago. It would be amusing. It's also a big fuck you to the system. It's basically the people throwing up their middle finger in their face. Now, this will, in my opinion, rest partially on the amount of misery that people are feeling over the next couple of months. Inflation has eased some, but the prices remain too damn high. Very much too damn high. The border crisis has not been solved. It's just the legacy media refuses to report on it. They're trying to gaslight us right now and say that there's never been an instance in which a Haitian migrant ate a cat or anything like that. You've seen that story. I'll be talking about that in the live stream. I have a nuanced view on that. I generally do. It kind of depends on the misery that people are experiencing. Foreign policy, for example. We're involved in several major proxy wars. You haven't heard as much about Ukraine lately, have you? That's because it's a major foreign policy failure for the Biden administration. Kamala happens to be the vice president of the United States. But it doesn't really matter if the legacy media tries to cock-block inconvenient news at this point, because people don't generally get their news from legacy media. Sure, I have to look at CNN.com and Fox News and shit in order to analyze things, but I'm not really paying attention to their general coverage. I'm giving my own analysis. I'm just using it as a reference. I want to have something linked in the description. Like a link in the description, archived of course. Kamala is also a horrible public speaker. The fact is that she, that debate performance that she had literally the other night is probably the crowning achievement of her speaking capabilities. And even then, she couldn't answer basic questions, etc., etc. Trump just needs to go a little bit further in order to destroy her. Like I advised earlier, he should definitely accept her debate challenge and challenge her to a third debate. Because at least at one of those moments, he's going to get in a real zinger, and it'll go completely viral, it'll go completely mimetic, and she'll go Hillary Clinton mode and have a little bit of a meltdown. Kamala's good at that. She's very, very good at making mistakes. That's another reason why I'm not particularly worried. We've got a couple more months until the election. That's plenty of time for Kamala to make some major blunder. All she has to do is go out in public and interact with somebody, and it'll probably happen. So the chances are that she does that. If you do have additional debates, she could easily fuck up there too. She's not a very skilled person, rhetorically speaking, in other words. She's simply a horrible candidate. The only reason she's even the Democratic candidate is because Joe Biden melted down so badly it was a foregone conclusion that he would lose. And they said, well, we've got a 0% chance of victory if we stick with this guy, and a 10% chance of victory if we go with the only other person we can literally mint for this role at a non-brokered convention. Well, 10%'s better than 0%. It's the only reason she's the candidate. She's a weak candidate. People are fluffing her up as though she's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's like, what are you talking about? For years now, everyone has, even liberals in some cases, said, well, she's a rather weak speaker. She's a rather poor vice president. Liberals literally coined her the border czar. That was their term. It wasn't the term for people that were opposed to the campaign. They were the ones that began using the term from the get-go. She's simply a poor candidate. She's not well-spoken. She's very unliked. There are some people who mysteriously, they disapproved of her as VP. She was vastly, her disapproval rating was higher than that of Joe Biden, even at his darkest hour. But all of a sudden, they approve of her. I have a feeling there's a lot of soft support in there, and that's probably the final thing. I think that the average Trump fan is fairly enthused right now. I think the average Kamala fan is like, basically, well, she's the candidate, I have no choice but to back her. I don't think that Kamala enthusiasm, which has been spoken of so much by the legacy media, is anywhere near the levels that they pretend that it is. I think that it's a facade. It's an astroturf more than anything else. That's about all. Peace out.